You know who actually was pretty good back in the day too, but
Who?
never their shine? State champs. Remember state champs back in the day?
Mike, I'm sorry, that's a reference too white even for me.
Even for me, man, I love me some white rock, but man, that's
The pasty
You guys-
Caucasian.
You guys were just having the whitest conversation ever, and now you want to sabotage Michael and be going.
We pulled the Julius Caesar. We
Why
lured
you guys want to make Michael look like the friggin' whitey of the whites? No.
We lured him. We were
Wild here, fam.
Hey,
They make me look like Tom Dubois.
me and David over here, like Cassius and Brutus, lured Mike into the Roman Senate, and then we stabbed him with the dagger of whiteness in front of everyone. But it's true. We just had the whitest conversation in the history of whiteness. We're like, do you guys remember the All-American Rejects and that Bionicle commercial? Wow, that was a big part of my childhood and really influenced my present-day sexuality. Anyways, guys,
I listened.
we are the Leg Kick
to gangster
Podcast.
rap growing up. So I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Bionicle?
Oh, yeah. Get out of here, David. David's trying to play the immigrant card.
Matt, I don't know what you're talking about at all. Let me talk about fried chicken and grape drink.
That's racist.
It's so funny that those, even for you, are the defining characteristics of a black gentleman. Let it be heard. Let it be heard here and now that for Mike, that's what black culture means to him.
Really?
To me, it means a lot more than that.
First, you don't know where Sierra Leone is. Now you're
Oh God!
yourself fried chicken. I mean, like, come on, Kiri.
Yeah, you guys out here crucifying me.
I guess that makes you Jesus, Mike. Anyways, We are the Leg Kick Podcast, an MMA podcast, no doubt. Not a intersectional feminist podcast, as David would like. We are here coming off of the heels of an interesting UFC card. We had a moment of silence for our Canadian boys, minus Charles Air Jourdain, who had a phenomenal performance. A weird card, not anyone's fault necessarily, just a disappointing night for us Canucks. It really was.
Yeah. Is this the way we looked when we were talking about Al Hassan getting one punch KO'd by Chaos? Like we were like, yo, this is a dark day.
I mean, we all knew that Ghanaians can't really fight. But, Canadians have proven that they can fight very well. It's just it's a sad day.
It's not a eulogy. Gavin's gonna be okay.
Yeah. So, anyways,
I have so much spice for Stefano because, man, he was talking so much smack in that preview show about guys like Ryan Spann. It was great. So I'm eager to jump in.
Before that, let's delve into the news segment, of which there's not much, but a few points to touch on. Number one, reportedly, more information's come out on the Dan Hardy situation. I know, not the most newsworthy thing in the world, but we did bring it up before, and for listeners of our podcast, I think it's important that the man be vindicated. From statements, admittedly from Dan Hardy, that have come out, apparently it was completely a work-related dispute, and it wasn't overly hostile either. He apologized to the woman, not because the dispute, he was in the wrong or because the dispute was overly hostile, but because apparently it took place in a more public setting than was appropriate. They've since resolved, and then for some reason the UFC fired him. But apparently the new step in the new talks are that he has found a home of Cage Warriors, that he's going to be commentating for Cage Warriors, and BT Sports open to working with him as well. And I guess he's going to be continuing his YouTube channel. So I don't know. We're big suckers for Dan Hardy and all he does here at the Leg Kick. So guys, thoughts, shots, anything?
Can I start? Wow, I really thought you guys were going to come all over me.
No, Mike.
Hey,
no, we're not going to come all over you.
All right. Okay.
He's like, really? Come on, I was expecting semen, guys. Isn't this the Bukkake episode of the Leg Kick? Like, no, Mike.
Whoa. We got
You
really
said it,
edit
not
that
me.
part.
You said it, not me, young man.
We went somewhere on that. Anyway, sorry, go on, Mike.
Listen, I know we've become a little bit more liberal with the word choice and everything, but we'll still Dan Hardy fire your ass, bro, if you keep pushing.
Hey, I'm not the one who
Okay,
asked for propriety out here.
just for you to report. Human resources isn't just for you to report Michael's sexual harassment. It's also for us to check you on your shit.
Oh man. Well, David at HR, please be merciful. Anyways, takes on Dan Hardy.
Yeah. Okay. So the rumor mill was spreading, and it was all over our comment section at the video that apparently the woman was Herb Dean's wife, right? And I'm glad that can now be. No, I don't know. Like, and they no one has said anything. But if Dan Hardy's saying the dispute was work related, and
not involving the Herb Dean situation either.
Yeah, and not involving the Herb Dean situation, I'm inclined to believe him, right? But just it's out there. The rumor is it was Dan Hardy's wife. Herb Dean's wife, and things.
Does Herb Dean's wife work for the UFC?
That's the thing. I didn't even know her name, and I know that I've covered the UFC before.
Yeah, I mean,
so
just speculation at this point. But to be fair, it seems like, again, as far as I've heard with the situation, completely work related. In fact, I've heard that the fact that she's a woman had absolutely nothing to do with the dispute. That was just kind of tabloidy MMA media trying to, frame the discussion in a certain way to make it look more salacious. It was just a disagreement between two employees that was resolved, and then the UFC fired him.
Yeah. I think it comes down to, that one guy in the workplace that the boss or the powers that be just maybe like a little less and has a little bit of a shorter rope than, typical other guys, right?
It's funny. I would have thought Dominic Cruz would have been that guy, but
he's on that list. Just give it some time.
Especially after that weird Hans Mullenkamp comments.
Although, just really quickly on that, Dana actually kind of backed him on that. Weirdly enough, I don't think
Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, I don't think Dana's a big fan. I watched the video, and I don't think Dana's a big fan of.
Basically said, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go on, Mike.
No, I was going to say, basically, and I'm paraphrasing, he's like, yeah, Hans Mullenkamp is a weird guy, but Monster Energy is a sponsor, and we have to be careful. Right?
Got you.
Yeah, and he's like, I can't tell them how to do business, but, he's a weird guy. So I think he has some personal history with Hans as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out, I guess. Although
Hardy's not being left flat broke on his behind, so.
Who, Cruz?
No, I thought that was just a quick anecdote on Cruz. I thought we were going back to Dan Hardy.
Oh, Dan Hardy's got more than enough streams of revenue to keep him going.
Oh, okay.
Like, I know per fight that he commentated on, and he was making $300,000 per fight.
Wow.
And that's just for his fight commentary. That's not including the
YouTube.
If I'm erring on this, like, please correct me on how much he was making for a fight. But that's what I heard. And then on top of that, we've got his YouTube, his work with BT Sports, the Inside the Octagon work, of which he's no longer. By the way, Inside the Octagon, not the same without him. I saw an episode of it with Anthony Smith. Not Anthony Smith's fault, because he's stepping into an established product and trying to fulfill that role. And Dan Hardy's so good at what he does. Anthony Smith, also a very intelligent guy and has some insight to offer, but it wasn't the same. It's like, here's a reference.
You never want to be the guy who replaces the guy.
You don't want to be light-skinned and Viv,
Yeah. What a reference. I got to get you, boy. Clap. Look at that guy.
Thank you. Next, I would like to announce a potential matchup, and this shows you how thin we are on the news this week. I think I only got one more. You guys got anything after this? No,
No.
nothing. Okay.
Say anything. Then they will know.
Okay. Yeah.
I got
So.
one thing.
Okay. Perfect. Oh yeah. Boxing news. I'm guessing, Jeremy, about. Yeah. Very sad day in combat sports. Next we have a rumored matchup in the works. Verbally agreed to it, and it's a thin news week. We don't usually report on this kind of stuff here, but Cyril Gane versus Derek Lewis apparently in the works.
That's a fun fight.
Yeah.
Fun fight.
Another one of those where it seemingly doesn't have much of an upside for Cyril Gane, but then again, this with the rate at which the heavyweight title is defended, it might be smart to take a fight in the meantime because it seems like it's being fought for about once a year now, the UFC heavyweight title.
Although I gotta say though, Derek Lewis is a dangerous fight here. It's a dangerous fight.
Dangerous, but I mean, Gane has all the tools to kind of navigate this puzzle, right? I think if somebody like Mark Hunt can navigate this puzzle, no disrespect to Mark Hunt, but very long in the tooth Mark Hunt at the time, is fleet of foot to be able to stay away from the power and just chip away at Derek Lewis. I tend to think Cyril Gane's going to be able to get it done. But again, we said the same thing about Curtis Blades, so
yeah,
and you never know.
Well, we didn't have a podcast when Volkov did it, but I said it. Man, no, it's interesting because Mark Hunt, when he fought Derek Lewis, that was such a weird loss. Like, of all the losses Derek Lewis has, that was really weird. He kind of gassed himself out. Too. Yeah, JDS was a weird one.
Yeah, Mark Hunt worked the body, and one thing that he did that was very smart was he attritive weapons and refused to get engaged in this kind of quick draw counter battle with Derek Lewis. Like I seem to remember for a lot of the fight, he'd just concede a lot of space and walk him back to the cage every time. Just concede when Derek Lewis came forward, walk him back to the cage. Don't try to intercept him on the way in. This bum rush has its limits, and then just get back on offense, Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was actually a very intelligent fight for Mark Hunt, which you don't really put together, especially the, later Mark Hunt. You don't put intelligent fight or tactical or technician and Mark Hunt together.
I'm going to stop you on technician because he's always a technician.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry.
Tactician, not necessarily, yeah.
He's not
in his late career.
Yeah. No, late career, tactician, not really. Early career Mark Hunt, though, he really was a tactical dude.
Oh yeah, what part of him and Ray Sefo allowing each other to punch themselves in the face?
No,
for the better part of a round.
That was it, yeah. But you know what though? A lot of his fights, I really like how he covered distance, switching stances. He was one of the first guys I saw do that. Yeah. Wow, we went we talked about Mark Hunt when we really didn't have to.
All right, now, Jeremy, please talk about the. News. I don't know why I'm putting
a tragic event that happened on Friday. You guys have probably heard about it. I don't know if any of the audience members haven't heard about it, but we're going to tell you that Sport of Boxing lost marvelous Marvin Hagler. And just reading a couple articles on it right now. I don't know what he passed away from. His wife has asked for privacy and everything, but I do know that it was unexpected. He was 66, and
was that it? It says here born 1954, and my math is
he was 66.
Yeah, 66. You're right.
Yeah, he was 66, but so I'm not too sure about the details of his death. However, I just wanted to talk about, his resume. He's considered, it's debatable, but he's considered the greatest middleweight of all time. He's on par with Sugar Ray Leonard. So, and one of the greatest boxing matches ever was the match between him and Sugar Ray Leonard. And he's just one of the GOATs. He's a great. And I just thought it would be apropos to mention that he's made a lot of contributions to the sport and the division near and dear to my heart. So I just want to let you guys know that happened.
Rest in peace.
If you guys have any school Marvin Hagler, marvelous Marvin Hagler, experiences that you guys have?
Unfortunately, I don't. I wasn't really too big into I wasn't really alive when he was boxing, right? Or was very young. But yeah, no, I don't know a ton about him in all honesty. But I know that his name is tossed around as one of the greats, and
one of the four kings of that division.
Yeah,
of the weight division.
Him, wasn't it him, Duran, and
Duran,
Leonard,
and
I think
why am I forgetting? Hitman.
Yeah, Tommy Hearns, I think.
Hearns. Oh, my memory of him though is that fight with him and Hearns, right? And I always say it like it's the idea of, who the man is, right? Like I talk about that all the time where, sometimes you could be like tactical, you could have a game plan, you can make the commitment to a game plan, and you should. But those boys went out there and said, who's a better boxer? Who's a better boxer, right? And they went out there and for about a round and a half threw bombs at each other, and it's probably one of the greatest 1.5 round fights I've ever seen in boxing.
You know what else though? You know what else I wanted to talk about? He was actually very influential in culture. Like a lot of times these guys box, all I do is box. I'm a professional, I come here to box, but he was like one of those guys who started to, like, you saw him in like sitcoms, you saw him in like he was even had like a touch on like hip hop culture in its early stages in the 80s. So it's like he was also very influential to people who didn't know much about boxing. So that was some sad news that happened, and
yeah. Also his fashion kind of contribution too. I remember a lot of people used to have the war hats, and the war shirt, and I want to pick myself one up after hearing his passing because, look, let he who has not screamed war while hitting the bag throw the first stone. I do it, I do it all the time, and it's because of
might just be a you thing, Mike. That might just be a you thing. I can confess, I've never screamed war while hitting the bags.
I haven't screamed war when hitting the bags, but I have whispered to myself, "I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest." We're doing road work. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. Because I am.
Did you say road work?
Yeah, that's what we call running in combat sports, David. David tried to make it look like Jeremy was being ridiculous. It's like, no, man, that's a pretty common term.
Yeah,
that's an industry term, my friend.
In my life, ever, except when fixing roads or building roads.
No, it's a common thing.
This is like an industry standard term for running.
Why not just use the regular term, running? Like, what's wrong with the regular word?
Because road works.
I don't know, David. Why don't you take it up with the entire combat sports industry, from boxers and MMA fighters since time immemorial? Take it up with them, David. Why do we call anything? Why do we call anything anything? Shit.
You know what? It's crazy because I remember speaking to somebody as to why they should run in the treadmill and ditch the elliptical, and I was like, nothing replaces road work like the treadmill, although it doesn't do the perfect job, but nothing replaces. And then they were like, what's road work? And then I had to realize, oh, yeah, the fighter in me came out. Okay.
You know, it's a good idea. Ditch the treadmill altogether and actually do your fucking road work.
Yeah.
No, yeah. If you want to strengthen your legs and you want to really survive a 5-round or 12-round fight, you got to really put your legs through that real road. Don't think
don't cheat.
The P way out.
Don't do that soccer mom cardio, for God's sakes. No, don't be a soccer mom who drives 30 minutes to run 20 minutes on a treadmill, for God's sakes.
What I will say, though, is in the winter, when it's minus 30, though, like
you build your mental toughness. You know what I used to do? I'd run through the snowbanks, not on the sidewalk. Let's go. Let's get it. Up that cardio. Get strong.
This is for my clients and students. I'm just saying, treadmill,
You know what's a good
treadmill's okay.
you know what's a good substitute for actually running on the road though? If let's say you have knee issues, which I did when I was recovering from my knee surgery, and that it'll push you in a way that road work will as well. Hop in the pool.
Oh yeah.
Some laps. That's a great alternative, right? Because to be honest, if you shouldn't be for whatever reason hitting the road, then you probably shouldn't be hitting the treadmill either, because that's a lot of impact. And if you shouldn't be hitting the treadmill, by God, don't use an elliptical unless you're
no ellipticals ever, ever, please, God no.
Nine.
But yeah,
Nine. Anyways, so believe it or not, we actually had fights last weekend.
Look at David's face.
David's like, wow, hilarious. Road work. I just call it going for a good old-fashioned jog. Hilarious.
Yeah, for real. What? Rest in peace, Marvin Hagler, man.
Rest in power. Anyway.
Man, when did David turn into Ben Shapiro? I really...
No, Ben Shapiro's more like this, okay?
Okay, can we get to the fights, please?
All right, let's get the fights. Let's get the fights.
So, in an interesting little ditty of a main event we had, a round 2, no contest in the fight between Belal Muhammad and Leon Edwards, and it felt like the fight was just starting to air out. The fight was just starting to get those established dynamics to it. And, a thing like that goes and happens. Guys, first impressions.
Ouchie, wow. That looks really painful. Man, it's... Honestly, first of all, shouts out to both fighters. Leon Edwards came out and did his thing. That jab was quick. He was super quick. His high kick was really good. What else? He looked really strong. He's super tall, looked in shape as usual. But, man, after a first round where he's been putting it on Belal Muhammad, that second round he, for some reason, chooses to throw, I think it's a straight and a high kick, and just sticks his finger deep into the eye socket of Belal Muhammad. And you could see instantly Belal is just writhing in agony. I haven't seen a lot of that where we have a fighter who's being poked in the eye and is literally crying. He thought I bet in that moment he thought he was blind because the way he was screaming.
Guys, I'm sorry, someone just stopped by. Can you repeat everything you just said?
Because the way he was screaming and shouting, he would have it seemed like he thought he was blind. It was super messed up. But I saw a post today, and I think he's gonna make his eye is starting to recover vision, and he's gonna make a full recovery. So thank goodness for that. But man, that was gruesome. And I know that after the event, a lot of people started talking about whether now's the time where we change up the UFC gloves, simply because, man, before we know it, somebody's going to get blinded in there.
David, the time wasn't today. The time was years ago.
Yeah.
When, numerous fighters, there was one in The Ultimate Fighter, there have been many people that have had torn retinas, torn corneas, scratched corneas, all kinds of gruesome injuries where, it's not even necessarily the fault of the fighters because you're just conditioned day in and day out to hand fight, to reach out, to grab people, to, when you're kicking, right? The traditional technique that's taught is to throw that feint of that straight on the same side. That hand comes out. And man, maybe changing the gloves won't be the be all and end all solution, but it's going to fix something. And maybe other solutions, people want one smoking gun. Maybe it's a couple of solutions, but the gloves are going to help. For those of you guys that have watched a lot of fights back in Pride, how many eye pokes do you remember in Pride? I don't remember nearly as many, but they had those curved style gloves that forced the hand into more of a curved position.
Oh.
Not in the same way, though. I think the UFC ones just force the fingers to straighten out in a way that other gloves don't. And in general, I agree with Stefano. I think it's going to take way more than just the gloves. I think we're going to have to start punishing fighters for keeping their fingers out because And I get it. Like, it's a natural reaction, and I get it. But, like, I mean, at the same time, like, somebody's gonna get blinded in there. That's just the way I feel, personally.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I just think it's weird because, I remember a couple years back. Was it a couple years? No, it was a couple months actually. It was very recent where Trevor Whitman goes on JRE and shows off his gloves, right? And no, it was the Rose Namajunas. It was right after she beat Joanna, so it was a couple years back. And the glove is curved. The glove has an aerodynamic feel. It's comfortable, and you can still you need to exert strength to do things like stretch out your hand and what's the word? Like do the stop sign, because that's kind of the way you're being taught now is to do the stop sign.
It'll
right?
be a little more like this if you extend your hand out, which is a good alternative because you're not going to get the same eye pokes, but you can still grab, you can still use your long guard, right? It just.
Yeah. And yeah, basically what happened was Trevor goes to Dana, and Dana's like, yeah, it's a great idea. Well, not Dana, but the UFC, and goes, yeah, it's a great idea. And basically what they got hung up on was licensing, creative control, right? Things like that. So it wasn't about like concerns about safety, concerns about material, will it affect the fighting? It was about money. It was about money.
I
And
don't know if I believe that, though. Like,
that's
I don't
what
know.
Trevor
If I
Whitman said.
know anything, I mean, that sounds, with all due respect, that sounds like a good story, but Dana could just reproduce the same gloves, the same idea, for cheaper. Outsource everything, cut out Trevor Whitman, and just say, hey, I have this idea. Instead of making it curved 45 degrees, it's curved 43 degrees.
Just a quick question though, was it because they have some kind of a contract going with the current glove people or something like that? Was it something like that? Like, what was it? Why was it a money issue? Not because it would cost more from Trevor Whitman. Like,
I can't remember the exact quote from Trevor Whitman, and I'm paraphrasing, and I'd have to go back and watch the actual interview. But basically, the idea was that Trevor Whitman has a patent on it, and because he has a patent on it, if the UFC were to use it, Trevor Whitman would get some sort of compensation. And they just couldn't agree to what the deal would be. And so because of that, they kept going. And look, I'm not saying the UFC's evil, right? For like wanting, to make as much money as possible from the curved gloves or not wanting to pay Trevor Whitman a fee. But what I am saying though is at some point when you see DC nearly get his eye gouged out, when you see Stipe have a torn retina, and now this situation, which thank the Lord, that nothing serious came out of it.
Not to mention Anthony Johnson requiring several eye surgeries, right?
Oh yeah, from what's that guy's name?
Kevin Burns.
Kevin Burns, right? So, and Michael Bisping. Well, that wasn't off of an iPhone,
yeah.
But the idea is that at some point when safety's involved, maybe. I'm not even sure if this is the exact full story, but that's what Trevor Whitman said. And look, I don't know if Trevor Whitman's glove is the answer, but it's time to start thinking.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there doesn't have to be one answer. We can have several things that come together and make it a solution. It's like saying, what's the solution for groin strikes? And someone's like, well, people should wear cups. And you're like, well, cups won't prevent groin strikes. They won't do this. Yeah, but it's a part of the solution to not make groin strikes as devastating, right? And similarly, let's say these gloves reduce eye pokes by 30%. Wouldn't that be a worthy investment? And then in conjunction with other things, eventually, you're never going to get eye pokes to zero. That's impossible, right? But if you could reduce eye pokes by 60% through one or two different things, wouldn't you? I don't know. And I just wanted to reflect with you guys on the fight as a whole, because for me, up until that point, things did not look good for Belal Muhammad. Not necessarily because he was enduring a hellacious amount of punishments just yet, but it seemed like more of a Leon Edward fight than a Belal Muhammad fight, right?
I was saying off the like before the pod started, Leon was on fire.
He was
and
on
it wasn't not necessarily that Belal was getting his ass kicked, like not in that range, but the things were he didn't look rusty. I thought maybe in the early going he would have a bit of rust on him and he'd have to get things shaken up, and maybe Belal could gain some confidence there, and as the fight wore on, and things could be interesting. But Leon looked like Leon from the word go. And it looked like kind of like a Stephen Thompson versus Jeff Neal kind of thing, where it just looked like it was going to be a quintessential Leon performance as the fight went on. Right?
Yeah, the second the fight began and Belal Muhammad started circling the octagon, I'm like, oh man, this is not his night. Like, you have to be applying Belal Muhammad, if you're a pressure fighter, as he is, right, and relies on volume, he doesn't necessarily have that one-shot power to start you, and you get your finishes and you get your victories through accumulation, and you're not able to get that going. You're not able to dictate the fight. You're in for a long night. And to be fair, it seemed like he had more successes in the clinch than I thought. He had double underhooks at one point and was able to secure, chest to chest and really neutralize Leon Edwards for a long amount of time. He looked very strong in the clinch. But out in the open, he was just eating straight shots repeatedly. That head kick seemed to be paying dividends for Leon Edwards. I don't know. What do you guys think? What did you get out of the fight?
Yeah, I said the same thing. High kick money for Leon Edwards. What really surprised me was also Leon Edwards was switching it up in terms of incorporating some grappling. You would think, I think Belal Muhammad has a pretty decent grappling resume. So you would think Leon Edwards would want to keep it on the feet, especially if he's having success, because, he was doing well keeping things on the outside. But for some reason, even when he landed some shots, he would not rush into the Muay Thai clinch, but he would engage in grappling. And he looked okay, all things considered. For British dudes, the stereotype is English British dudes can't grapple. I think Leon Edwards might be the first British dude, other than Paul Craig, of course.
Arnold Allen as well.
Allen, that's true.
Wrestling, governor? What's that? Never heard of wrestling.
He can really grapple, man. No, but he looks really tough. And he's 6'2", 170, 6'2". It just looked like Belal was having trouble getting into range because every time Leon Edwards' jab was money. It was so quick, constantly switching. I don't know. I'm one of those people who's a little bit on the fence about fighters who switch. I think people hype that up a little bit too much. But I do think he was switching, but his best stuff came from southpaw, by far. It wasn't even close. And yeah, man, I think it's gonna be a tough fight for anybody in the world.
Yeah. I mean, everything you guys said. I mean, Leon Edwards was more accurate. His punches were more powerful. They were doing more damage, and I feel that it would have been a matter of time, even without the eye poke. I have a couple questions. One, why was his layoff a year and a half? Two, if he was ranked third, why did they give him somebody who I feel was but just, I feel like they could have got better competition for Leon Edwards.
Well, not during a pandemic. First of all, he was a replacement, right?
Yeah.
So
he was a replacement. Okay.
He was a
I'm glad you brought this
Khamzat-
up, though, because
Khamzat
really
was
does,
supposed to be.
Sorry,
Khamzat was originally supposed to be slated, which I think for this fight, which I think as well, Khamzat is a bit below Leon Edwards' status and what he's managed to accomplish. The year and a half layoff is not his fault.
I think a Khamzat matchup would have been better just because the size equivalency was a little bit more.
I got to be honest. I think Khamzat Belal Muhammad has done much more to earn this opportunity than Khamzat has. Khamzat's had 3 wins in the UFC, but 2 of them against much lower competition who probably won't stick around in the UFC for very long.
I'm pretty sure both of them are cut already.
Both of them are cut already. The third one, Gerald Mearshart, seems to be on the downtrend. As far as Belal Muhammad, let's just pull open his definitely not under normal non-pandemic circumstances worthy of getting a third-ranked opponent in a main event. But let's pull up his resume here, okay? So we've got the Diego Lima win, which was good. Then a win over Lyman Good in 2020. And then before that, beat Takashi Sato, beat Curtis Millender, lost a decision to Jeff Neal, beat Chance Raconteur. So he's beat Tim Means, beat Jordan Mean, beat Randy Brown. Back in 2016, he lost by KO to Vicente Luque, but who hasn't? Beat Augusto Montano, lost to Ellen Joben, but that's back in 2016. So you see what I'm saying? He's on a bit of a streak right now. He's been doing the damn thing for quite a while. Does he deserve a third-ranked opponent? No. But it seems like nobody above Leon Edwards wants to fight him for obvious reasons, and people below him aren't necessarily clamoring to get in there either.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
what was the? I'm sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I'm just glad you brought this up because I think that Leon Edwards is in that weird limbo where because he's been trying it lately to varying effect, but because he's not necessarily a talker, a charismatic guy, like you don't necessarily have to be a trash talker, but you need to get your name out there. You need to be interesting. And because Leon Edwards doesn't necessarily have that charisma with him, he's not necessarily a guy you can make money off of. So if you're a Jorge Masvidal or a Colby Covington, you don't necessarily look for Leon Edwards because he's A, not going to be that money fight, and B, he's not exactly an easy fight. Like you saw in you saw in that match against Belal Muhammad. He's got a lot of tools.
His last loss was to the champion in Kamaru Usman, and I think he's going to even give the wrestlers at the top of this division problems, just based on how disciplined he can stand in these clinches. Like, yes, he might get taken down and put in the grind cycle, but I still think he has a lot of stylistic challenges to offer the top three of this division.
And he's strong enough and physical enough to get up, even if you take him down. Like, I generally think, like, yeah, he's gonna, like, on any given day, depending on the fight, he could be a champion, just depending on how the fight goes. You know what I mean? Like, he's got all the tools.
So what does the UFC do? What does the UFC do in a situation like this? Like, do they set up a rematch? What do they really do?
I gotta be honest. I think they move on from this fight. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it really hurts any fighter's stock, to be honest, but I don't think it really makes sense to, I was going to say hold up the division, but who really else is there for Edwards to fight at this point, given that, the Khamzat fight's not really a possibility. Maybe Kobe would be an interesting matchup.
Kobe doesn't want to do that. Kobe.
No.
Like, no offense. It's not like he's ducking him. It's just Kobe wants Masvidal or Kamaru, right?
Yeah. So it's difficult to say. I mean, maybe you keep him active, give him this fight again. I feel bad for Leon Edwards, but do you guys want to move on from this one and just cover the top half of this card really quickly?
Yeah, sure. Let's get into it.
And we've got Ryan Spann tragically knocking out Misha Serkinov.
But what did I say, though? What did I say?
You're right. Wild, Mike said, wily, athletic people tend to give Misha problems, especially on the feet. Especially as he's... Stop. Hold on.
Stefano was talking so spicy before this. I think his quote exactly was something along the lines of, I don't see what Ryan Spann is good at, or something like that. I think, I quote, he said that Misha Serkinov might be the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu talent that we have in Canada.
Which is true.
Which might be true. I'm not saying it's not true, but unfortunately that was not on display in the last...
Unmute him.
Oh, sorry. My bad, Stefano. You're on mute.
Very prolific Brazilian jiu-jitsu talents fail to really ply their craft in MMA very well. Like Andre Galvao, very mixed success. I think went 500 and lost to competition that, on paper shouldn't have been giving him problems. Same thing with Marcelo Garcia, has one loss in MMA and then never tried his hand at it again.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
honestly, it just looked like, and I'm not that familiar with Misha Serkinov word. I mean, I think I watched some of his losses. Like, I remember some of his fights. For example, he won against Volkan Ozdemir.
No, he lost against Volkan. He got knocked out by Volkan.
Yeah, and then there was another one, his most recent one. Anyway,
He beat Jimmy Crute by Peruvian necktie.
I
Yeah,
forget.
which was nice. Which was nice. Yeah,
I
no, I
just
think
feel like Ryan Spann was just super athletic out there, honestly. Like it didn't even look like a technical thing. It just looked
No.
like it was just like an over. One dude was, let me not say too much. Michael, go on.
no, I was just gonna say, like, I
That
think I say
Texas
this every
cornbread,
podcast.
man. Corn-fed. Texas corn-fed shit. No, I don't know.
No, I was just gonna say, like, look, I think I say this
Well,
every
thank you for that
single
bit of technical
podcast.
insight, Jeremy.
But yeah, no, I say this every podcast. When you're athletic and there's look, I always keep bringing up Jamal Hill, but when you're an Alexander Rakic, when you're who's another athletic gentleman, Johnny Walker, right? Your margin for error on with how you can operate in fights is so much higher than when you're a guy like Misha Serkinov, who isn't the most athletic. Well, not athletic. I wouldn't say unathletic, but he's not explosive like these guys, right?
Yeah, he doesn't
And
present the same danger on the feet as they do.
exactly.
He's a bit
And
robotic on the feet, and if he
mhm,
can get it to the ground, he's very successful there. But yeah,
yeah,
especially at 205.
yeah.
The,
And
the,
the other thing with him too is that at what point do we start questioning if his chin's starting to deteriorate a little bit, right? Because he's getting knocked out a little frequent. And so when you're Misha Serkinov, where again the chin is questionable, like I'm not saying glass, but questionable, and you're not as explosive, and you're facing guys like Ryan Spann, Johnny Walker, Alexander Rakic, even No Time is kind of an explosive guy as well.
well,
This is
yeah,
when your margin for error against these guys is even slimmer than it would normally be against, let's say, Glover Teixeira, right? You know?
and let's be honest. Chin deteriorating in this context means not able to hold up against the best fighters at 205 pounds in the world, right? So that's a tough ask for anybody's chin. But yeah, to your point, certain questions definitely need to be asked. Hey, speaking of tragedy, in our Coco main event,
Oh God.
yeah, it's too bad because I mean, we're obviously very biased at this podcast towards Canadian fighters, and to Dan Ige's credit, this was a artistically placed counter. He caught Gavin Tucker lunging in on that cross, and I mean, I just feel bad because Tucker, one of the most promising prospects in Canada, and it was hard to feel happy for Ige after this one for that reason, especially because we know the depths of Gavin Tucker's talent, and he really didn't get to show those depths in this fight.
See, that's the thing. It's not that he got knocked out, although you never want to see anyone, especially like being homers we are, get knocked out. It's that he got knocked out before he could really get going, right? That doesn't mean rematch right away. Like, don't get me wrong. Of course, like it was a very, very artistically placed, as you put it. That was very astute of you. Counter, but it really would have been nice to see Gavin Tucker really kind of get out the breaks there and start doing some of the things he's good at, like switching stances, covering ground,
Mixing in takedowns,
yeah, right,
kicking to that open side, yeah.
exactly. But he just couldn't, and Dan Ige just in terms of his hands, they looked crisp. From the very limited time we saw in that 22 seconds, he had one kind of jab into an overhand right, jab into kind of a check overhand left, right? Like I don't know how to explain it better than that. It was like a right, pop, pop. And I was like, "Ooh, Danny Ige's been working on his boxing a little bit, right?" And then all of a sudden hits that cross hook counter with the hook just missing, but it didn't need to land. So. And he's got a baby on the way, guys, by the way. So congrats to Dan Ige.
Yeah.
Sad day for
Hey,
Canadian
man.
sports, play sports.
Well, to give you guys a bit of positive news out there really quickly before we move on to the other fights on the main card, just so us Canadians don't look like, it was a total tragic day. We did have one, one Canadian talent that I think bears mentioning, and that's Charles Jourdain, the always exciting Charles Jourdain on the undercard, getting it done in an absolute war, which in my book, if it wasn't Fight of the Night, should have been against Marcelo Rojo, who, if you don't know him, is that guy who in Combate Americas would knock people out and then do the T-Rex dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a fight. Jourdain starting out in southpaw, and Rojo able to just catch him up against the fence, putting in excellent body work. And then in the later rounds, great adjustments by Jourdain, switching to orthodox and started kicking to the leg on that close side. And just out-hustled him for the finish in the end. Excellent fight.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. This was a sneaky good card, by the way. I don't know if you boys can attest to that, but I really enjoyed it.
This one, I'm gonna be honest. I did not catch the undercard for this one.
Yeah. David, if you should have, because that's where a lot of the funner fights took place on, like the Nasrat Haqparast fight. Ooh, that was another banger.
Yeah, and then you got a couple good knockouts too that we'll talk about. But boys, I want to ask.
Tragically, I think I might have to get going, unfortunately.
Yeah, no worries.
Early.
See you, buddy.
Yeah, no worries. See ya.
Carry on, my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are gone.
Wayward son.
And I just want to. What's that?
More White Rock.
Yeah, I'm going to go cry in a corner for our Canadian talents. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in.
Do. All right. Sorry. Okay, so I was gonna say, did anyone take in that Manel Cape fight?
I did not, so I was gonna try and watch it. It was either that or the Eric Anders fight, and I chose the Eric Anders fight to watch.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll talk about the Eric Anders one.
Quickly. What are your thoughts on the Manel Cape fight?
Well, it's a shame Manel Cape is not active.
Okay.
The way he fights, he's very, I wouldn't say passive per se, but he doesn't what's the word I'm looking for? He's not as active or as high volume as some of these other,
like boxing guys, like high level kickboxing guys.
Yeah, as these flyweights. These flyweights are known for speed and volume, right? And Manel Cape is more kind of I wouldn't necessarily say a power puncher, but he's more of a counter fighter, right? Like he likes to kind of, defend a little bit and then throw something out there to counter or intercept you. And I'm not saying completely change and become a volume fighter, but what I am saying though is, take a little more risk because he is so good defensively. I really love his vision, and he's got these sneaky counters that I think would really, it's a far cry from what you usually see in this flyweight division, because that's usually where you'd see the heavier weight classes where a guy's kind of sneaking in those counters. But it's not like he doesn't have the speed. And I don't know what his cardio's like, but I'm sure he could be a little more active. So, yeah. I mean, full disclosure, I thought he won the fight. I thought that – I wouldn't say it was a robbery, but I thought he won the fight. I thought the split decision could have gone Manel Cape's side, and I wouldn't have argued. But I just think that added extra kind of, get going a little more would be needed in his game.
Fair enough. I'll have to go back and watch it. I remember watching his first fight, I think. It wasn't too long ago. And what I remember, he was showboating a lot. Like, a lot. So, yeah, I'll just watch out and we'll see.
Yeah, he was also inactive against that Pantoja fight as well. Yeah, I remember him being not as...
Yeah, he was, doing a lot of feinting, but not landing a lot. But what's clear is he's definitely high level, so... expect him to be competing at the top of the division, but for now, yeah.
Yeah, a couple setbacks though.
I did want to talk about the Eric Anders fight, unless you had something to say about that fight, Jeremy.
Unfortunately, I did not watch that one, so I'm busted and disgusted.
All right. Eric Anders versus Darren Stewart. Man, the dentist once again. Not even once again, but man, the dentist getting a get
Great.
out of jail free card by Eric Anders, who I'm still convinced is way, way too big for middleweight. Like I don't care like if he can make it. Like
He
he's
looked
way too
huge.
big for middleweight. He looks huge. He
He looked.
literally looks like a linebacker. Like he shouldn't
He did
be.
play football back in the day. I
For
think he
sure,
played.
and
Yeah,
I
he
believe
was
him. I
back
believe him. So yeah, he should not be in that division. He looks huge. And
He's
Darren
that,
Stewart, sorry, go
but
ahead.
is he? I was gonna say he's that weird tweener where he's too big for middleweight, but maybe too small for light heavy.
What does he walk around at?
I don't know. I don't know, but
If you had
like
to guess, if you had to venture a guess,
two my size, 210,
yeah.
215. You know,
Yeah, you know what? I mean, he's not as big as like a Ryan Spann, for example, but you know, he looked big in there, man. He looked big, and Darren Stewart. I don't know how to feel about Darren Stewart because he's a good fighter, but he just some of his fights are just like, what are you doing, man? Like you can tell this dude has like a striking advantage over Eric Anders. Like, why are you getting in the clinch and making this like a telephone booth fight? He loves a brawl. I get it. He's a kickboxer, but he loves a brawl.
yeah. I think the problem is Eric Anders can trick a lot of people into a brawl. You don't see it like because your boy, um,
Yeah,
it,
boy.
your boy. When's the last time your boy fought? Like I don't think he fought all of 2020 to be honest. Um, unless a clear Roundtree fight was in 2020.
No, I don't think.
Um, yeah, but your boy does get like that Thiago Santos versus Eric Anders fight was craziness. Like he just turns it sloppy. And I mean that in the best way possible. He can turn a fight ugly. You know, not at the same level, but I know a guy named Everell Crooks who's in the Muay Thai scene. Actually in Ottawa, by the way. I think
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Familiar.
Yeah, Ottawa. So Everell Crooks is kind of the same way, where he can turn a fight ugly, and those guys are interesting because they take some shots going in. They're not exactly the most aesthetically pleasing guys, but there's something to their game that, for whatever reason, they drag you into these fights that you shouldn't be getting into.
Mhm.
And to Darren, and I'm just saying, in fairness to Darren Stewart, that might just be what happened here. Before obviously, what happened.
Yeah. But we'll get to that. But yeah, I just thought like, man, I know his stand up is good, but even for him, like Darren Stewart, I'm thinking like, man, could he maybe I don't know, is that the right division for him? Like 185, could he maybe lose 15, go to 170? Like I don't know.
This is one of the few times where I'm saying like probably not. He looks every bit like, at least muscular wise, and this is where like I that's what I was trying to say about Joaquin Buckley is. Joaquin Buckley looks every bit of 185. It's just you're also 5'10,
Yeah.
so and Darren Stewart's kind of in a weird similar boat where it's like
He's not
it's
short.
he's not short, but he is a guy who does look a little undersized out
Yeah.
there. Especially with the new age of middleweights, like you're seeing guys start to clear. Gone are the days where Anderson Silva is the tall, lanky guy of the division. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At 6'2", right? You're seeing some guys who are starting to look.
And the Sanyo
Uh,
6'4".
Asani 6'4", Vittori 6'1", Whitaker might be the shortest. Like he's undersized for the division at 6 feet and makes it work. So it's not impossible, right? There are guys who do it. Calvin Gaslam's 5'9", 5'9", 5'10". There are guys who can make it work. So this is one of the few times I'm going to say no. And in all honesty, to me, and I don't think I say this enough. Here's some nuance. I think guys are cutting too much weight nowadays.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. Are you shocked? Are you
which one?
surprised?
Make the weights or guys are cutting too much weight? Which one?
No, okay, so here's my nuance in it. The reason why I say make the weight is because of professionalism, right? How are you gonna, if you agree to a fight, how are you gonna let the other guy down? and come in 5 pounds overweight, and then it's cheating. It's modern day cheating.
Because you're cutting too much weight. That's why.
Exactly. So why are you not just agreeing to fights in a division lower that you know you can make?
Because that's not my division.
Based on what? Based on the fact that you couldn't make the weight for the division that you think is your division?
No, because I've made this weight before.
So make it again. Right?
But it's too much. That
So
doesn't
then
change.
drop down. So then drop down.
But
What?
I know unless I fail.
Yeah,
Right?
Mike. But as a aspiring trainer, you should have more knowledge on how human physiology works, man.
No, look, I understand how human physiology works, right? This isn't the question of human physiology. And I understand that weight cutting is a weird science, right? Because sometimes you make the weight fine, no problem. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's a nutrition thing. Get it. I get it 150%. But what I am trying to say, though, is we're talking in the world of business, right? We're talking in the world of you come into a fight and it's business, right? You're expected to make the weight and you get an allowance too, right? Why? My reasoning is, why are you significantly struggling to get to the weight? Because you're cutting too much, right? And I think there's a combination of a lot of things. I think I think sometimes it's guys are not doing the right thing. Sometimes, and I think a lot of times it's just the fact that some divisions that guys are in, like 185 to 170, that's a bit of a gap. That 15 pounds is a bit of a gap, right? I think it's also, a lot of guys are not cutting weight quick enough, and that's a philosophical practice. A lot of guys like to kind of dehydrate and rehydrate in short spans so they can keep their power, keep their strength, and keep their size. We saw that dribble, right? I think it's a lot of things. But yeah, like the nuance of it is, for me, I'm just saying my nuanced opinion doesn't necessarily get shown because I get cut off halfway. But philosophically, I think guys are cutting too much weight.
Well, thank you for sharing your nuanced opinion. I think I speak for everyone when I say that it still sucks and nobody cares. Moving on to how the fight ended. What's it called? Man, Eric Anders basically for 2 minutes has this guy pinned against the cage, beating him down, throwing a couple of really suspect knees to begin
Just
with.
bullying him.
Yeah, he was bullying him, but in a good way. Like, he was doing what you're supposed to be doing. But, man, some of those knees were, like, borderline to begin with.
Yeah.
And it's just like, anyway, towards the end of the fight, there must have been, like, 30 seconds left in the first round. And Eric Anders just, for some reason, throws a knee to Darren Stewart, who has his hands on the floor, or one hand on the floor.
Clearly downed.
Clearly downed. And to be fair, it wasn't like the Aljamain Jan fight, where it lands flush on the kneecap to the temple. It wasn't that necessarily. I would say this was more like thigh to maybe shoulder. I don't know. He defended it a little bit, but still, like, rules are rules, and Eric Anders broke the rules and deserved the no contest.
Yeah. I'm glad they went with a no contest in that situation rather than a disqualification, because I feel like whenever, it can be up to interpretation whether it was accidental or on purpose. You should probably err on the side of benefit of the doubt, because if you start going, you have to make a decision one way or the other, right? It's either accidental is a DQ or an accidental is a no contest. And I like the fact that if you can convince yourself it's accidental, go with the no contest, right?
I'm not a big fan of making rules with things like with intentions in them. So I don't know. We don't know whether it was accidental or non-accidental. And that line is always blurry. Like, is it accidental because you forgot, or is it accidental because you weren't properly trained? And then, you know what I mean? Like, one deserves to be punished, one does not. Like, is Greg Hardy's knee to the head any different than what happened last
Yeah,
night.
he ended up losing.
Yeah,
He ended up losing, right, because of his knee. Sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
I was gonna ask David, which one do you feel needs to be punished? The one where you forgot, or the one where you weren't trained?
I think if you're gonna punish punish both of them. Punish both of them
Okay.
and punish the action of kneeing a downed opponent. I don't care whether you meant to do it or whether you forgot or whether he just put his hand there. Like, I'm sorry, like that's the rules. Like if you knee a downed opponent, you get disqualified. But then again, I know there's a deeper conversation of whether we should even have that rule in the first place. I don't know if I'm educated enough on it to have a good opinion, but what I would say is that as long as the rule exists, then yeah, we should follow it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that some people say, pride rules, you can throw kicks. Some people love soccer kicks. I don't know if a knee to a downed opponent is any more like devastating than a flying knee, for example, or a head kick, or a hammer fist, or an elbow.
It's just an extra tool. Like, I think it's just one of those ways where, let's say you're a striker and you don't want to get into somebody's guard and play the jiu-jitsu game, right? Rather than forcing yourself to get into turtle, or be on top on turtle, or play in somebody's guard, right? Or kind of do those leg kicks, from the outside. Why not just aim for an axe kick to the head, or a soccer kick, right? When they're downed already. I know Vanderlei Silva loved the soccer kick after knocking somebody down, right? He would knock somebody down. He'd run just to like turtle position and soccer kick their head, right? And it allowed him to avoid grappling exchanges. So then when he got to the UFC, there was actually an instance I remember. He was fighting, I can't remember who he was fighting exactly, but he got them to the ground and he was about to soccer kick and then caught himself and then went back to regular fighting. In terms of the rule, I just think what happened is the John McCarthy meeting. I think we've talked about before on this podcast, the infamous Big John McCarthy meeting where they sit down, they talk about the rules, and one of the rules they actually kind of conceded on without a fight was the downed opponent rule, because they knew aesthetically it doesn't look good. If you're trying to attract new fans in Western culture, specifically North America, kicking somebody when they're down has always kind of been a thing that we frown upon, even in like outside on the street fights. We kind of frown upon it.
While I understand that, you can technically kick fighters while they're down. You just can't volley them in the face.
Yeah, it's not in
You
the
can kick,
face.
to the body. You can knee to the ass like a lot of fighters do now once they have you in that like I said, that turtle position. When a fighter falls, for example, and they have their back on the ground, their legs in the air, try to invite a fighter onto guard. We see fighters all the time go for the volley to the side of the leg or something like that. So,
Can I say something?
sure.
First of all, I didn't appreciate how you said sure. Like, no, I'm just
Like,
kidding.
we'll give Jeremy. All right, get your.
Yeah, like that. No, I'm just kidding. Um, I actually like don't even really agree with the whole rule of you can't knee somebody when they're down. To be honest, like when I first started watching mixed martial arts, I'm like, it just seems so like you're already in a basically fight, like basically a fight like that's vicious already. Like, what is so like? Because I want to say without sounding like all like
Gladiator mindset. I
yeah,
get
like,
it.
oh, gladiator mindset, but like you're already in a fight. Like even like I just feel like Aljamain Sterling like it wouldn't have like he would just have to it would just be one more thing that he would have to defend against if it was a rule. Like I don't feel like it would change the sport that much. Like it would make it that much less dangerous.
You'd be
Or that
surprised how much
more
it.
dangerous if it was not a rule. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see it, but like you'd be surprised how much it actually did change Pride in the favor of striking, right? Because you don't necessarily have to play the jiu-jitsu game if you can just kick somebody in the head.
You know,
Once you
that might
down.
be it too. That might be it too. Yeah, because like when I'm training myself, I'm like, man, why can't I just backflip onto your head or something like to end this? Like, I don't want to go down there. So that could be it too. That could be like my reluctance to like.
For the record, it's not that easy, and there are defenses for it. Like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
But
But
I'm saying so like if there's a defense for it, that's why I say like why not just negate the rule? But maybe I'll go and do some historical research on Pride and
it's
all
just
that. But I never really saw like like it's already a fighting sport. Like why is it? I just never really saw why it was such a
no
big
look. Again, it's just a cultural thing. I think in our culture, as opposed to like Japan, where Pride originated from, our culture just frowns upon kicking somebody in the head while you're down. We just do. And as a result, when they were making these rules, the unified rules in the UFC, they kind of just gave up on trying to add down the opponent's strikes to the head, right? Like kicking strikes to the head. I remember it being a fight for punching, apparently. Like that was the talk. Like you couldn't hit somebody at all while you were down. And then John McCarthy fought tooth and nail for that, but then kind of conceded on kicking. Um,
Well,
so
kicks and full out stomps, I feel like that makes sense. But like a knee when you're down, I feel like that might
No,
not.
man. I would definitely not want to be kneed in the head when I'm down. I'll tell you that much.
I feel like you'd have to protect yourself.
look again. There's defenses for all of it. There's defenses for kicks. There's literally a defense I like using that I wish people would try to kick me more because I like it. It's like you weave under and you get the back from there. But it's yeah, it's just kind of the way our culture is, unfortunately. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on who you are. And you know, when you're trying to market, again, this is a sport that we're doing for entertainment. This is not like, this a blood sport. Like when you're trying to market to people, you kind of have to concede some things. It's half the reason why we don't have the downward elbow, right?
Uh,
We we have to concede, and unfortunately, this is kind of the way it goes until our culture educates itself a little bit, and we kind of move on from kind of that idea.
no, yeah, and I feel for you guys because when I was listening to that fighter meeting at War of Gods, I'm like, or maybe it was another one. I don't know. When I was listening to that fighter meeting at War of Gods, they listed like 50 different things that you couldn't do. I'm like, God damn, so what can you do? Like freaking play patty cake? So
Yeah.
it's
Hey,
yeah, no, it's like when you play football, just go out there, hit somebody, take them to the ground, boom.
That is not true. There are tons of rules in football, Jeremy, and you
No,
know
I
it.
know, but you kind of it's slick. You can get away with this, like slick. Like you kind of drop your head to the ground and then you just kind of quickly raise it up. No, it's my shoulder, it's my shoulder.
Just you could probably just say the one thing I wanted to say before we wrap up. Man, can we please just from now on just bring the doctor in and let him make a decision? Don't
yeah.
get Chael Sonnen on this. We should not be asking fighters to make the decision about whether they can continue or not.
It puts him
Either
in such
the
a bad
doctor,
position.
exactly, man. Either the doctor says they can continue or they cannot continue. One of the two. Like it can't be up to the fighter. It can't be up to the ref. It can't be up to the corner. Like it's up to the only person with a license and who's sworn an oath to protect other human beings, and that's the doctor. Can we just let the doctor do his
Couldn't agree more.
darn
Couldn't.
job, man?
Yeah.
God, so
Couldn't agree
annoying.
more. Well, but the problem is that like, okay, what's a fight I remember? I remember Weidman versus Musasi, right? Where Weidman puts his hands on the ground to try foul bait, right? Like, well, not foul bait, but to prevent knees while he's in kind of like it's kind of Anaconda / Dars setup, where you sprawl and then you end up kind of grabbing your opponent's neck and you're kind of trying to set some things up. Weidman doesn't want to get kneed. So what does Weidman do? He puts both hands on the ground. At the time, both hands on the ground meant you were a downed opponent, where it's like if you had a hand on the ground. And it was by the tips of his fingertips. And Mousasi knees Weidman in the head twice. Now, Weidman was trying to make himself a downed opponent, but both times his hands come off. And so Dan Miragliotta stops the fight initially to call it an illegal knee, but John McCarthy is at the corner, as at cage side, and says, no, those are legal. But no one gave Weidman the memo, and so Weidman, I wouldn't say was pretending like he was, out of it a little bit, but I find it convenient that the second he realized that he loses the fight if he can't continue because they were legal now, he's up in arms, Now that could just be the fighter mentality. That could be a lot of things. Like, look, I'll tell you right now, there are 2 fights I cannot remember because I got rocked, but I fought on. Sorry.
That's my point, though. That's not good.
Yeah.
That's not good. Usually, I would argue like 8, maybe 9 out of 10 times you stop a fight or a fighter is down, whether by a foul or even by a blow. You stop him and you ask him, can you continue? They're suffering some sort of brain damage or concussion.
Yeah. Can't do it.
Like, why are you using that as like an effective or valid decision-making tool? Like, if the role is to protect the safety of the fighters, like, you shouldn't put that in the fighter's hands. I don't care like what you think you can do, and I'm saying this maybe because I'm not a fighter, I've never been in that position, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, you have somebody who's trained to protect people and trained to, analyze whether somebody can compete at.
I agree with you. Like, I don't think this is a fighter not fighter thing. I agree with you. I just think that what ends up happening is, right, you get a Chris Weidman situation where when the doctor calls it off, right, because the doctor did make the decision, that's when he gets mad because he feels like he's been robbed, because at the time he lost 2 straight, that's a 3rd straight, and then your livelihood starts to be on the line. Look, in Chris Weidman's case, he's going to be okay, former champion, dethroned Anderson Silva. But let's say you're slow Mike Rodriguez, for example, or Charles Air Jordan, or Kyle Prolakek, who kind of got cut by the UFC already. Losses mean a lot, and they don't care how you lost. They just care that you lost. And so this is why I think this conversation gets messy, right?
Mike, the question then is, what matters more? Loss, like a loss, or brain damage? Or like your future health? You know what I mean? Like, not to make this into like a whole sob story kind of point, but I just think it's weird, even for the Peter Yan fight and Aljamain Sterling. Why is Sterling the one to decide whether he can continue?
I agree with you.
Fully licensed doctor there. Like, we all saw it. You have a doctor there. Ask the doctor. Let the doctor do his test. And if he passes the test, then let him fight. If not,
you know what's crazy? All doctors across the board were like, yeah, he's not faking it. It was so insane. I talked to 3 doctors at York University. I watched Brian Suderer's video. All across the board, they were like, yeah, that's a concussion. He can't continue. They're like, there's no faking it. That's a concussion. Can't continue.
Some of the narratives, man.
It's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy that there's a lot of people playing doctor online. When all doctors across the board were like, yeah, no, I would have stopped the fight myself. But this is the thing. I agree with you. I'm just saying, when you get into these are guys' livelihoods, right? This is not the NBA where you can just kind of get it next time, right? This is fighting, and this is a contract sport where one loss means.
Just quickly on that, 1/3 of all NBA players are cut each year. Don't tell me like.
No, you're right. That was a bad example. That was just a grab.
Football players are cut each year from the team and never play again? This is sports.
Yeah. It's a bad example. It was a bad example. Yeah. It was a bad example. if a guy gets injured with a knee injury, he's not like
He's
a
out
mainstay, he's
with
in
Boogie
trouble.
Cousins. I
Yeah.
mean, let's not turn this into the NBA podcast.
No, I know, but do you see
Dude,
what I'm trying to explain though? Like as to why guys would probably continue.
guy, yeah, I mean, you got to protect fighters against themselves sometimes. You know, in a
Exactly.
respectful way. In a
Yeah.
respectful way, you know?
No, I agree with you. If a doctor can stop a fight because of a cut arbitrarily, why not?
And we don't even see that in the UFC. We just let them suckers bleed all over the canvas. We don't even see. Rarely do we see fights stopped
And the
because
one time it did. The one time
we
it
were
did.
livid. We were livid. Death threats.
Yeah, dude, that was crazy. That was insane. And you know what? I will admit, at the time, I didn't like it. And then after I heard, oh yeah, he could see his skull, I was like, yeah.
And there we
So,
go. Listen.
I know it's an interesting conversation. It's just when you start getting into kind of the why it's complicated, I can see why there's some adverseness and why they kind of say, hey, make the decision because you're going to get brain trauma anyway. Do you want to keep going, right? And when it becomes livelihoods at that point, guys tend to make the smart decision, right? A lot of times. And this is not me saying Chris Weidman was faking it. I want to be on record right now and say he was absolutely not faking it. It's just an example I'm bringing up to say that, you know, this is kind of the game that they play and why when a doctor made the decision, Chris Weidman was livid, right? You know, so yeah.
I hear you, man. I'm not buying in. We're putting too much responsibility on fighters, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like in other sports, you have entire teams and staff that are just like their role is to just make sure that all the players do is just play. That's all they have to care about is just play. But here, like fighters have to be their own promo guys, they have to be their own business people, their own nutrition
Yeah,
guys. Like it's too much. It's too much.
even in the NBA G League, I was explaining this to somebody about some of the perks the G League players get, and how the UFC, which is the pros for fighting, don't get them. And of course, different contract structures, different whatever. You know, they have somebody go. Yeah, they have handlers who go in and clean the rooms. I kid you not, right? They have guys who do their taxes. They have accountants on hand who do their taxes in the G League.
Harry would really really want that right now.
Right? You know, it's all to say that, look, when we talk about unions, it's not just a union thing. It's just like you're seeing some of the things this is a sport where the guys who should be taken care of are just not being taken care of. Right. And it comes down, and then this is another example where it comes down to, hey, let's take care of our fighters. Darren Stewart was clearly not going to be able to continue. Just call it for him, because otherwise you either make him look like a punk, or he's going to go out there and hurt himself even more.
Exactly, and then who wins? Who wins with that? Like, okay, so he goes out on the Shield, and then what? It becomes a footnote on a fight night that nobody's gonna remember like 3 years down the line. Like, come on, that's not right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, we had one question, right?
Yeah. Let's get into it. So this is a Bob question. No, I'm kidding. Man, for anyone who gets that reference, gold star to you. Okay. So this comes from one of our mainstays of the show, and honestly, go check him out. He does a lot of interviews. He recently interviewed a couple stars from Cobra Kai, Giancarlo Alino. He asked, do you think Scott Coker was right about Bellator's light heavyweight division being better than the UFC's light heavyweight division? Which I think is a very loaded question, in my opinion.
Wow, I'd have to do some research on that one. No. I'm going to say no, just like off instincts, because a lot of the top guys in light heavyweight in Bellator, even though they were top guys in UFC, they weren't champions. And most of the top guys in the UFC beat the top guys in Bellator. Well, I'm really going back and forth on this one, but
Dude,
off
I
instinct,
would
I'll
say
say
it's
no.
deeper. I would say the UFC's is deeper, but I really do think Nemkov could be something in the UFC. And
But who else though?
I don't mind, like, look, if Rumble comes back and he's
No.
90% of Rumble,
Right.
then I think Rumble could really give a lot of guys a tough time. Like a lot of guys. Sorry?
Like, how old is Rumble Johnson?
Like 35, 34, something like that. He might be older actually now that I think.
37. Come on, man. Come
No,
on.
but like let's say, right? Because look, he's gotten time to rest. And he's gotten time to heal his injuries. But let's say there's a world where Rumble is, I'm not saying 100%, but we've seen guys like, for example, Cheick Kongo, who's aged gracefully, who, isn't his same self athletically, but has figured out a way to make himself still a competitive guy at 45 freaking years old, right? Let's say Rumble graces himself like that, right? There are some skills that Rumble has. It wasn't just, hey, I'm going to throw hands at you. There are skills that Rumble has, particularly mixing a looping or a hook punch into kicks that gave guys trouble. If he's doing that still, and he's got that wrestling pedigree, I can see him being a top 10, top 15, maybe top 5 guy in the UFC.
Top 5. All right.
I know. What Yoel Romero, like, okay, look, I think what's not for debate is who's got the deeper roster.
And
the UFC.
UFC
right?
for sure. I will say this, with all due respect, I do feel like towards the end, while I respect Yoel Romero so much, like he had like what 3-4 losses in a row before he left. Man, I don't know. Like I feel like sometimes there was a lot of hype and not a lot of like he had 3 losses in a row, a win over Luke Rockhold, and before that a loss against Robert Whittaker. So lost 4 out of 5 before he left, and that's 4 to 5 losses since 2017. I don't know. I'm not trying to say he's washed or anything, but I do think like
It's the way he lost though that I think a lot of people are like, well,
yeah.
like
I mean, he looked good in the Costa fight. I'll give you that. And the second Whittaker fight, to be fair. But like, man, I don't know. I would say that the UFC definitely has more depth, as you said. And the top guys in the UFC are probably better than the top guys in the Bellator. But Bellator, is exciting and finally has given some more competition.
yeah, like it's not bad. Like that's the thing, right? I don't think Bellator's like gone are the days where they have one guy and then the rest are kind of, no offense, right?
Nemkov could be a champion in the UFC.
I legitimately think he could be something. How old is Nemkov too? Like he's like young.
He's relatively young. Yeah, he's
young. So like the future is still bright for that kid. I think Bader was a top guy in the UFC and still could be if he, really. I wouldn't say he was a top guy, but he was in and around contendership level. So it's not like they are bad, but I just think that the UFC is deeper. I think there's guys who give a lot of trouble to those Bellator guys. You cannot tell me Dominic Reyes would not present some problems there and tear it up, right?
In Bellator, are you kidding me? He would eat. He would eat.
You cannot tell me, right? And it's time to start respecting Jan's name. I think he would eviscerate everybody.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, maybe except Nemkov.
And that's the problem, right? Nemkov's the one guy where I'm like, right? Because Nemkov's my pick. Nemkov's my pick to win the Grand Prix. So yeah, man. All right. Well, I'm sorry.
All right. Okay. Who's gonna do the threatening children? Jeremy, do you want to threaten some children?
I think we've established that I suck at it. Listen, if you guys do not subscribe to this channel, we're going to call the royal family to take you out.
Is that before or after they ask what color your baby is?
It'll be
Hilarious. Yeah, we're gonna invite you, call the royal family. They're gonna adopt you into their family, and then they're gonna racially discriminate against you.
and if you try and snitch on them, they're gonna knock
That's
you off.
all Jeremy Asiffo. That's all Jeremy
I don't
Asiffo.
care. They can come and get me. I'm not afraid. I ain't afraid of nobody. I ain't afraid of no royal family, no racist royal family.
Man. You know okay, we'll talk off air. We'll talk off air about that, but that was crazy.
Drew Brees retired a few hours ago.
Who?
Drew Brees, quarterback for the Saints, legend, first ballot Hall of Famer. Retired a few hours ago. Michael, do
Yeah.
you think Tom Payne wins another Super Bowl before he's done?
Nah.
Yeah, me neither. Okay.
All right. Let me get into this. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, in this crazy mixed up world where, yeah, we talked about like punk rock before the show. Just remember, black people listen to rock too. Okay.
And shout out to Herb Dean, by the way. Low key the MVP of last night. Shouts out to Herb.
He had a good night. See, he had a good night. He had a good night.
I want to hear Stefano giving him crap now, because he did his thing last night.
Nah, he had a good night last night. But we'll talk about it off air. I have some thoughts on that.
Peace out, guys.
Later,
Peace out.
everybody.